Hello and welcome to another episode of Showboys. My name is Mike and I am joined, not as always, wow, this really, I didn't realize how much this is going to throw my flow off. Nick is not with us tonight, but I'm joined by my good friend Chadwick III and my other good friend Jordan. They should be familiar faces and or voices to you guys who have been listening for a while. Of course, Chad is on the What's Playing episodes every month, and Jordan is on quite often as our, expert on many things. We'll go with that.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, and you might notice Nick is not here. He is taking a well-deserved night off. So it won't be the same. It will probably be better, but we won't tell him that. Hope he's getting some rest. And we have underfunded scientist chilling in the chat already. He says, yo,
Nice.
What's up, bro? Thanks for tuning in. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Chad, how
Real
you doing?
good. I'm doing great. Yeah, it has been a while. I'm super salty that even you have a good background, and I still got the crappy background. I'm working on it.
Good.
I got a plan. I just haven't implemented it yet.
What?
Yes.
I have a good background?
Yeah, I mean it's better than my 3/4 of a door.
I like the 70% blue wall. It's
Yeah.
nice.
That's good.
Funny story actually. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I forget when. But I was asked to jump on our friend over at Be Hero Fights, their 50th episode thing, and I was on the recording at the same time as Mick and Casey from the Scene Snobs, who, again, if you're familiar with our show, you've heard us talk about and with Mick and Casey a handful of times. But we were kind of both recording our part at the same time, like together, the five of us, Brian, Tom from Be Hero, myself, and then Mick and Casey from Scene Snobs were just kind of in a chat like this. And at one point, they were like making fun of me because for some reason, like, people think that my room looks really cool, but it's literally just my office where I work, right? I spent a total of $9 on these LED strip lights, right? But yeah, they were like, yeah, you could definitely tell that, like, we're just people recording in our bedrooms, and then you have this guy who looks like he's in a professional studio. I'm like,
I mean, it really does, though. The lights really add to it.
The lights are awesome. I will say that, but literally it was like $3 a pack at Walmart. So
This is like the podcast equivalent to having like 12 half-stack guitar amps.
Exactly.
But you're only using one of them as
one's
mics.
plugged in.
Yep.
That's all. The rest are for looks. Those aren't actually real Funko Pops. They're just like little cutouts.
Cutouts, cardboard cutouts, but you can't tell.
Yeah.
So far away, you can't
They're the
tell.
same one.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, right here, if you watched our episode with Wendigoon, they like fell off in the middle of the episode, which was kind of a little creepy. But I haven't put them back yet, so you'll notice there's a nice little gap right here.
Yeah, I see it.
Funko land.
Oh yeah. Real quick, did you have the lights when we did the Haunting of Hill House episode?
No.
Where you were scared? Okay, so it was that dark.
Yes. And during that episode, I literally was like sitting like this because, like, this dark space right here, I was just like, broken neck lady's gonna come get me.
Yeah, it wasn't working.
It would be worse. That was before we had cameras, right? And we were doing the video stuff. So I think it actually would have been worse with the camera because I can see behind me. So like, if she was chilling behind me, then I would see it at least.
Right.
Before I was just ignorant, and she could have just been back there and ended me without any, knowledge, and I would have been just.
Facebook message Becca, be like, come after him right now, right behind him right now. Especially with the light, it would cast a shadow.
Yeah. Oh,
that is funny that that figure randomly fell on the Wendigoon episode. Like of all the odds.
Right. Well, okay. I should have prefaced that. They fall pretty frequently.
Oh, did
mainly
they? Okay.
because the way I have them stacked, this is super important. So I'm glad you guys all tuned in to figure out how I have my Funko Pops stacked on my shelf. But they're just stacked on Funko boxes that are laying on their side to give like a tier thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the boxes have been up there for a while, so they're starting to like, bow a little bit. So all the pops that are not like Star Wars or Marvel don't have the bases on them, right? They just have their little feet. And some of them aren't exactly the like most stable. Plus you put that on top of a cardboard box that's kind of caving in. They fall pretty frequently, but it was really weird because we were talking about spooky stuff, and then all of a sudden, like Funko Pops like attacked me, and I was just like, okay, well, I guess I might. Was
it one of the female pop figures that have like the skinny legs, but they didn't release a stand with it?
Yeah,
those are like the worst ones.
Yeah, it's usually my Angela Moss pop from the Mr. Robot series.
There it is,
freaking Angela. But yeah. It happens all the time. I have a Misfortune League of Legends one that fell off, and she broke her leg, and she's laying on my table over here just waiting to get leg surgery to reattach the leg.
I have an Overwatch Symmetra
nice,
pop figure that like the heat just bows her legs, and it's unrecoverable. So.
Yeah, I have to have some of them like leaning against the boxes so they don't fall over. But enough about my poorly stacked and displayed Funko Pops. I wanted to say one more thing about the Be Hero 50th episode special thing. When they asked us to record, they were like, it'll only take like 5 or 10 minutes. We're just going to ask you a couple questions about Be Hero. It shouldn't take very long. Mick, Casey, and myself were in this call with Brian and Tom for like literally an hour. And it was the most fun ever. And of course, they only used like maybe a total of 5 minutes between both of us, right, for their episode, which obviously makes sense. But they released last week, their 51st episode was just behind the scenes of Mick, Casey, and I recording with them. So it was just like our entire unedited conversation.
Nice.
And Jordan, you'll be happy to know that we talked about you and the Joker debate for about 35 minutes of the hour.
Wow. That's good. That's good.
You should give it a listen. It was hilarious. It was so fun.
I noticed that I remember you saying that happened, and then I watched their 50th episode, and I felt good about what I saw, what I heard. But I didn't hear. I remember you saying that like you were like defending, or you're like kind of I guess making fun of them a little bit or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and I was great. Like, I didn't hear it at all, and then now I get to hear it.
Now you get to hear it.
Yep.
Yeah, listen to the 51st episode. It was just a giant roast session. We were all roasting each other. It was hilarious. I hadn't laughed that long or that hard in a long time, so it was great. It was fun.
What's the Joker debate?
So they had like a Joker. Who is the best cinematic Joker? It was like a tournament. There was 8 total debaters, and Jordan represented Jared Leto's Joker.
Interesting.
And he went up against like Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, Cesar Romero, Zach Galifianakis. Did I already say Mark Hamill?
There was 2 different groups.
Heath Ledger.
And mine had Heath Ledger, Zach Galifianakis, and also Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. That was the last one.
Mark Hamill, Jack Nicholson, and Cesar Romero were in the other ones. And Jack Nicholson had won that category.
Yeah.
And then I won with Jared Leto on my side. And then I lost in the championship against Jack Nicholson.
Gotcha.
And it was garbage. It was literally garbage. Like her argument did not even like hold a penny to Jordan's like $100 bill he was flashing on the screen there.
So did Galifianakis do Lego Joker or something?
He was the Joker in the
okay, gotcha.
It was fun. I as I said in the 51st episode, I felt like a proud dad watching Jordan demolish everyone. Like, oh, look at him go. Swiping the tears of joy off my cheek as I was listening.
It was one of my favorite things that Tom had said in that episode was, it was like, I convinced him that Jared Leto was the best. He went back and watched it, and he decided he hated Jared Leto again. But I'm okay with that because the whole point of me taking Jared Leto was I wanted to just to do the underdog story.
Right.
And
yeah.
I wanted to, not. I never pictured really winning with him, but I just wanted to get the info out there that he's very underrated.
Right.
He's not even necessarily my favorite Joker, but he's very underrated.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was great. You should go listen to both those episodes. I had fun. I just had to tell you that, Jordan, because
I appreciate it.
I was happy that they released the entire recording with Mick and Casey and myself.
Yeah.
But then, it was even better because even Mick and Casey were like defending you, and it was great. It was so funny.
And Casey was representing Heath Ledger, so it's funny to hear.
Yeah, dude, it was great.
Wow.
You should listen to it. Give it a listen. It's great. But while we're on the topic of, the Joker and comics, there was this thing that happened last week called San Diego Comic-Con. And it's usually a pretty large event full of news and announcements in the pop culture sphere, obviously regarding comics, but we typically get a handful of like movie or show announcements. Sometimes, seldomly, games will have news of sorts at Comic-Con. But yeah, San Diego Comic-Con was last week, and we're here to tell you all about it, how amazing it was. And
that's definitely what we're gonna say for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely amazing.
It was so fun.
So great. So that's on the docket for tonight. And other than that, we don't really have much to update you guys with. I mailed out the giveaway prize to our good friend Underfunded Scientist who won last week. So hopefully he gets that in the mail soon. And I'm hoping when he does, he posts a picture wearing the shirt, holding the Moff Gideon pop. Hopefully we'll be able to do more giveaways like that in the future. I thought it was pretty fun. So we'll try to squeeze some more of that in, as it applies. So I guess first off, did you guys, I know Chad had to watch or follow Comic-Con in some sort or fashion due to his writing articles for Downright Creepy, but Jordan, did you happen to catch anything from Comic-Con this year?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question. So Comic-Con over the last couple of years has become something of how is it going to irritate me this year?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And I don't want to be cynical. It's hard for me to be cynical about it because I still like a lot of the things that come out of it. But this year it just felt very unorganized. And I know, Chad, you and I haven't talked before this, but I can only assume as somebody who had to pay attention to it, to get the details on it, it was probably challenging to want to keep the attention span to it. So I'm in a unique position tonight because as we discuss these topics, it's going to almost be like I'm watching Comic-Con for the first time. I understand the panels that happened, but the attention span just wasn't there to pay attention to the announcements. I know there's a Rick and Morty one. I know there was a Simpsons one. A lot of random panels out of left field I didn't expect to see. And I am relatively excited to hear what the announcements could be. And it'll be hard pressed for me not to have at least an opinion on the announcements that come out of these panels, other than Dexter. I've never watched Dexter yet. I know Dexter had a panel, so.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but I really need to get around to it by the sounds of it because it sounds like it's a good show. But you nailed it on the head. It was very difficult to keep a grasp on everything. Yeah. And the reason for that is it was entirely online this year, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But there's just so many panels, man. There were at 5 o'clock, there were 9 panels going on at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was like an absurd schedule. And I was lucky with Downright Creepy to be tied to horror and sci-fi specifically. So I was able to kind of, pick through what I needed to watch.
That's great. That's good.
Otherwise, I would have been really screwed as a single person doing it. Now we had a team writing with this versus E3, where it was just me, so that helped a lot too. But yeah, it was just looking at the schedule, I was like, oh my goodness, very overwhelmed by it.
And being there in person, it's like going to I guess like an amusement park. There's long lines and there's so many things going on that the time allotted to you, you're not going to be able to ride every ride or visit every attraction, right? So you have to pick and choose what you want to do. And it's ironic that having it online, you still have to do the same.
Right. You think that would alleviate the whole multiple panels going on at the same time.
If you want to watch it live, obviously, but that's part of Comic-Con experience is getting the live announcements.
Yeah,
seeing Batman vs Superman announced at Comic-Con is probably personally for me the greatest announcement I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I about lost my freaking mind. So actually, speaking of that, I got the Snyderverse.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I lost my mind and also the Suicide Squad trailer, because that was a very different movie than what was released.
Yeah, and the trailer was actually pretty sweet, but
it's dark.
Unfortunately, the movie was not.
Yeah.
Underfunded Scientist says Dexter is pretty good. I would agree with that. I love Dexter, and even though most people hated the finale, I thought it was okay. I'm not gonna say I liked it. I'm not gonna say it was amazing, but I don't think it was as atrocious as most people claim. Excited for the new season to come out for sure. So I guess that goes into my next question. Have either of you guys attended San Diego Comic-Con specifically before, live, in person?
I have not. If I have to answer it, I don't like California that much, and I've been to California a few times. The main time I was there was for a Transformer convention, and I don't regret it. It was amazing. I love Transformers to this day, but I don't really have a whole lot of need to go back, especially with Comic-Con. Like I mentioned, it's a very large gathering, and there's a lot of things happening all at once, and it feels like no matter what you do, you're not going to be satisfied with what you got to see.
Right.
So again, I try not to sound completely cynical, because I'm so happy it happens every year, and it's the trailers that are usually released for it are just I look forward to it every year. I really do. And this year was the first kind of it was a puff of smoke to me. I didn't really care a whole lot. It could have been in part that we were going to do this, in all fairness, it would catch me up on everything that happened, or I could read Chad's amazing article on it on the horror section, which I'm sure we'll get into it, but I just want to know, this is driving me crazy. Did they go over anything for Halloween Kills at all?
Not that I saw, no.
This is exactly why I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I mean, to be absolutely fair, literally there were 1,000 panels, so I could have missed it. Okay. Perfectly possible that I missed it. But that being said, I had a focus on horror and sci-fi, and I didn't see anything.
Okay.
But
plus, it's probably not going to be very easy to just search and see what was actually discussed.
Normally, I wouldn't think it would happen, but over the last 5 or 6 so years, Comic-Con has become just pop culture con. It goes way beyond comic books, and which is okay. I'm fine with that. Part of the backbone of American culture is it's pop culture, right? And comics are the bedrock of that. But it's I'm totally cool with that. So it's not a critique. So I was hoping maybe it would end up there.
Right. What about you, Chad? Have you been to San Diego Comic-Con before?
I have not. It's always been a dream of mine, along with E3, to go to something like this. And I think that Comic-Con specifically would be far better in person, because they're really, out of all those panels, they're all people sitting around a table talking, which is fine if you're really interested in what they have to say. But it would be way cooler to see those people in person talking, where E3 is just trailers and really could be online every year if they wanted it to be. Yeah. But no, I have not.
Plus, I bet there's a ton of cool collectibles. And things of that nature.
Free stuff that they're giving.
As a matter of fact, when you go online to look at, and again, I tried to do a little bit of what had happened, at Comic-Con, And the biggest things is you see a collection of like, the NECA releases and all the toy exclusives.
Right.
And that seems to be the highlight this year.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Yeah, I've never been. I've only been to one Comic-Con, and it was up in near Cleveland, North Olmsted, somewhere around there.
So it was like a Wizard World, or was it
no,
like
it was just like
okay.
just a local con. It wasn't anything special, but it was the first one and only one I've ever been to, which was kind of cool. Underfunded Scientist says same. I would love to go to Comic-Con. Yeah, I think attending San Diego Comic-Con's like right up there with attending a live League of Legends like match or whatever.
Right.
I think it would be so cool and definitely something I would love to do before I kick it. Yeah, there's just so much that happens at Comic-Con, and like exactly what you guys said, getting to see the people from some of your favorite shows or movies or franchises like sitting at that table and like, just speaking at you, and the opportunity, maybe if you're lucky to hop in line and get to ask a question or something, would be super cool. Along with just that entire culture of people that are there that they all love the same things that you love. You have all of the cool collectible stuff. I don't know. I just think it would be super fun to attend in person.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing that I have to compare it to is we haven't gone the past couple years, but there's a firefighter conference called FDIC in Indianapolis. It's like a huge fire conference where they have classes and that kind of stuff. And then they have like a big expo where you go and look at tools and all kinds of trucks, all kinds of stuff. But the cool thing about it is all the free stuff. Like you literally leave with like 20 t-shirts. I mean, so I got to imagine
big
Comic-Con.
Fire hose on your shoulder as you're walking out.
Yeah. Everyone gets a free fire extinguisher.
Yeah, like the first couple years I went, I got everything that was free. If it was a pen, a magnet, I would come home with like bags full of fruit. And then as it got progressed, that stuff just sits in my closet and I never even look at it. So I just focus on the t-shirts and stuff. But I think it would be so cool because I know San Diego Comic-Con and E3 both have those kind of things going on, and that would be awesome, I think.
Yeah. So with it moving online, I've never been to one, right? So I don't know how comparable it is, online versus what it's like live in person. But I struggled being able to really Chad provided the Comic-Con International YouTube channel to me, which had all the panels broken out for each day into videos, which was nice. But they were like 30 panels every day. Which was insane. And none of them had titles that were clear about what was being talked about.
Not at all. Yeah.
Of course, I didn't have time to listen to all like 120 panels or whatever there were. So I was trying to cherry pick, scrolling through the playlist, seeing like what would pique my interest. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna have to listen to like 5 minutes of every one of these to really see if it's gonna be anything good. So I did find a few, mainly on Friday and Saturday, because the first 2 days were just like weird things, weird panels that didn't really seem to be about much of really anything.
Panels.
Yeah.
Convention panels.
So I guess maybe before we get into like breaking down like stuff, was there anything, Chad, to you that kind of stuck out that was kind of like your favorite thing that you saw this year?
So it's not an announcement per se, but the one thing that really piqued my interest, and I know I totally missed that it was released earlier on in July, was Fear Street, the Fear Street trilogy. Yeah. And I watched their panel and their like behind the scenes thing. I think it looks awesome, and I got to get on it because I read some of those books when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So I think it looks really, really good. So that's like the main thing. And that's going to kind of, for me personally, show you how the rest of San Diego Comic-Con panned out, because, the most exciting thing to me was something that was released back in July. And it was like behind the scenes panel.
Something that's already been out.
Right. So you know, if you're a Walking Dead fan, I think you're gonna have a lot to be happy about. But outside of that, horror sci-fi wise, I mean, the new Dune trailer looks really cool. But
yeah, Dune.
So real quick, Fear Street. I know that you just kind of highlighted that. I've watched all 3 movies or episodes, whatever you want to call it, and it's a good series, good trilogy, and I think there's a lot they can build on off of it. They had some campy and cheesiness to it, almost like New Age, Are You Afraid of the Dark stuff, but
you're right.
There was a gore factor to it that I haven't seen a lot of things take on. You know, a lot of this is some kills that you don't expect to see that angle of,
right,
and the details with.
Yeah, so one of the ones that they went over in the panel was the like bread slicer kill, which I think I was like really intrigued by. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I think the campiness wise, I think that's probably what they were going for, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't. I don't even. It's one of those things where it's hard to critique it over that. But you know, the first one was really really done well, and you've probably heard this already. It reminds a lot of viewers of Scream.
Right.
Oh,
nice. Yeah.
There's a cool throwback to that, but obviously there's some paranormal stuff added to it too.
I had seen an article that the director said that they kind of want to build out a Marvel style universe for Fear Street. So that could be cool.
I have one more thing. The Blade Runner anime I thought looked really, really good. So that probably, out of newer announcements at Comic-Con, that probably be my top is the panel for that. I think it looks fantastic, to be honest.
Nice. What about you, Jordan? I know that you didn't really follow it, but was there anything that maybe you heard at all out of Comic-Con this year that piqued your interest? Or
honestly, some of the NECA toys they always kind of pique my interest, but that's Comic-Con to me a lot of times that really has been, as a collector, there's been a lot of collectibles that come out.
Was there any specific item this year that was announced?
This year there wasn't. I know that the NECA community went crazy over a lot of it, but for me personally, there wasn't anything I'll pick up. If I had to go to, honestly, a lot of my favorite stuff was announced around it. The Ghostbusters trailer that came out. I know they didn't touch on Ghostbusters at all, did they, Chad? At the actual Comic-Con?
They showed a trailer. I think it might have been actually after Comic-Con.
So I was trying to figure out
about it. Yeah,
I was trying to figure out if that trailer was released at Comic-Con or not.
I think that it was after Comic-Con, is like totally separate, but I could be wrong on that.
If that did not come out at Comic-Con, I got nothing.
Right. Yeah.
But the Ghostbusters trailer was phenomenal, and there's even a lot of the Suicide Squad stuff has been built around Comic-Con. There wasn't a whole lot of there was some Warner Brothers Space Jam stuff at Comic-Con, I think, but there really wasn't any. There was nothing for Shazam, Fury of the Gods. There was nothing.
There was no like DC or Marvel film stuff.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think this Comic-Con was really missing something, at least from DC or Marvel, to show up film-wise, to show off, or TV-wise. I mean, they have stuff to show off, so I'm not sure.
I mean, Titan season 3 is about to come out. They could have showed a trailer.
Yeah, they could have shown
that.
Or something. They did show season 6, and I forgot about this, of Legends of Tomorrow, which that show has gone. I mean, I took Jared Leto to the championship. Okay, I'll defend DC to my grave. But when I watch Legends of Tomorrow, I face palm.
Yeah, I had such high hopes for that show, and then like halfway through the first season, I was like, ugh.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a Hawkman fan. All right.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing the dude die. All right. Seriously, he's like a stormtrooper living in DC. Like he shows up, gets shot in the chest, falls off a cliff, and hopefully, God, you'll see him in another battle somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, dude, I was so into the Arrowverse for a brief minute there. Like the start of Arrow was awesome. The Flash was great. Supergirl even was pretty good.
It wasn't that
at
bad.
times.
Yeah.
And then it just got so teen angsty. And I was like, okay, I can't.
Even the dude playing Superman, the dude playing Superman right now on CW is really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay. When Arrow first started, I was okay with just a gritty, realistic, universe that they were building him in. And then when they introduced Barry Allen, I'm like, oh my God, that's really cool. They brought Barry Allen into this, but no way he'll become the Flash.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to do with the Batman Green Arrow, which is
he gets struck by the lightning, and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to do it.
Yeah,
they're going to do it.
And it was good. Like the early Flash was great. Mm-hmm. Like Grant Gustin's awesome.
Yeah. With Reverse Flash doing what he did, in the whole first series or her whole first season, even the second season was really, really good on Flash. Yeah. It's just, my God, it's like, I don't know. It burned out really quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of potential there. Sad to see it kind of go down the toilet, but, yeah, I would say there are a few things that kind of piqued my interest. There was, in the Paramount Plus peak animation panel, I am not a big Star Trek person. Like I've seen some of the recent movies that came out, but I know nothing about Star Trek really.
Right.
But they had a panel about the Star Trek Prodigy animated series that's about to come out, and it looks really cool and gave me some serious Rebels vibes. Star Wars Rebels animated show. It looks really cool. I kind of want to check it out, but I don't have Paramount Plus, so I won't.
Right. Yeah.
Because who's going to have Paramount Plus?
Right.
And then they also had a panel for the second season of Star Trek: The Lower Decks, which looked really funny.
The show that I've chuckled a couple times.
Yeah.
That show.
Yeah. So those kind of piqued my interest as not being a Star Trek fan. There was this was just caught me off guard. Didn't really I'm not interested in it per se at the moment, but I was shocked to learn that Imdb has a streaming service called Imdb TV, which is part of Amazon.
Right.
And they have brought back the show Leverage as Leverage Redemption as an IMDb original, which was kind of surprising to me.
That's cool. If you're gonna stand out, that's the way to do it. Is bring back I wish that there was back in the day they were gonna bring back Jericho. I don't know if either of you guys ever watched Jericho, and I don't remember what channel it was on back in the day, but it was it went through getting canceled and then getting picked back up. But Netflix was originally going to pick it back up and start it back up because it was one of their most popular shows when they first started, and then it just fizzled out. But I like that for if you're gonna come out with a streaming service, which seems like everybody is doing now.
Right.
Bringing back an old show that people like would be really.
Jericho was the leading actor was Billy from Scream, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Everything comes back to Scream.
It does.
What a classic movie.
I'm sure I'll mention it again before the night's out.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Underfunded Scientist says, dude, I love all of Star Trek that isn't the original with Kirk. I can't handle the quality and acting of the time.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get into it, and when I played through the Mass Effect trilogy, I really tried to get into it because it kind of Mass Effect gave me Star Trek vibes, but it's just not Star Wars, and that's what I want it to be, and I just never and to be fair, I didn't go back and watch the older shows. I watched the newer movies, and they're good, but they're not blow your mind amazing. They're just good, and they might be better if I watch the original trilogy. Right. Or I'm sorry, original series.
We have a couple Trekkies in our Discord, so I might have to ask them what they think about these animated shows, if they've seen them or not. But I don't know. I might try to venture into it, but a lot like what has kept me away from Star Wars for so long. I feel like there's so much. I'm just like, what's the point?
Right.
But I'm pretty sure if I watched it, I'd probably love it, just like what happened to Star Wars. There was a cool DC comics panel called DC Read with the Lights On, and it was all about like horror books, which was cool. There was one thing specifically in that panel that was announced. They're working on a DC vampire book. So much like Deceased and DC versus zombies, there's a DC versus vampires coming. Which
so the heroes and villains become vampiric.
Yes, of some sort. Either that. Well, I'm sure some will be turning, but yeah, basically a vampire cult like tries to take over, and
one of my
sounds really interesting.
One of my favorite Halloween cartoons to watch every year, and I don't know if it even has Halloween in it, but it's Batman versus Dracula. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that cartoon movie.
Nice. Yeah,
it's really good, and it really shows like how they do a good job of depicting Batman versus Dracula. Mm-hmm. If Dracula's at his peak, Batman doesn't stand a chance. But hopefully in that series they take the Red Rain Batman, who's a vampire, and maybe he starts maybe he's the Dracula and spreads his disease.
Yeah.
I feel like Batman versus Dracula would just be like Dracula triggering Batman to death just by constantly turning into an actual bat in front of him and being like, oh, look what I can do. Look what I can do. And Bruce Wayne just gets so jealous that he like jumps off of Wayne Tower or whatever and kills himself.
Dracula would have to turn into like Man Bat though, like 6 or 7 foot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Batman's still scarier.
Yeah. Right.
So that was interesting. Because I love the Deceased books. I actually got 2 of them. The most recent one back here behind me. I can't wait to read.
The artwork in that book is ridiculous.
You got to get the hardcovers, man. They're so gorgeous. I love them so much.
Hal Jordan's look of being a zombie is really good too. Spoiler alert: he becomes a zombie. But
jeez. No, I'm just kidding. I know that, but
he's not like the main. We're not talking about the Blackest Night here.
Yeah. I would say probably the most disappointing panel of all was the Riot Games panel. I got so excited that they had a panel. I was like, yes, I'm going to get some crazy Riot Games news, because guess what? They added an S to games, and now they develop more games than just League of Legends and like Legends of Runeterra. They have Valorant, which I'm not like a huge fan of. Not a huge fan of Legends of Runeterra either, but they're developing a fighting game, which... Again, this is going to sound like I'm not really a Riot fan because I'm not a fan of fighting games, so I don't care about that. But they did recently announce that they are actually developing an MMO taking place in Runeterra, which is where League of Legends takes place. So it's an MMO based off of all the lore in League of Legends, which for a MOBA, League of Legends has an insanely deep pool of lore, and it's super interesting. And a lot of people who play League of Legends, such as myself, have been shouting from the rooftops for Riot to make an MMO for years and years, and they are.
So real quick, I know they made a board game based in the League of Legends realm.
Yeah, Mechs versus Minions or something like that.
Yeah, and that it's a cooperative board game, which is really cool. Did they talk about the gameplay at all? Would it be like a third person MMO style or top-down Diablo style?
In this panel, they literally did not talk about anything other than inclusivity in gaming, and specifically females in gaming. And I sat through 55 minutes of that while I was waiting for some sort of Riot Games news, and I was like,
so the exact same thing happened, and we talked about it at E3 with Take-Two. They had a panel, thinking somebody was going to drop some sort of Take-Two news, and it was all exclusivity, which would have been nice to know going into it.
Let me just say this, get this out in the open. What I just said probably makes me sound like I hate women or I'm racist and all that stuff.
Which, let me real quick. 95% of your household are women.
Right. Let's point that out first.
Very true.
I don't know why you really count for 5%, but whatever.
It's true. I basically
because you're a white male. You're 5%.
I'm a straight white male, so I don't count for anything. it's not that I don't like diversity in gaming or inclusivity in gaming or film or movies or music or society in general. It's just when I turn on San Diego Comic-Con and I click on a video panel for Riot Games, like I want to hear about news from Riot Games about the things that are entertainment focused because you're at a convention for pop culture entertainment stuff. Like, I love that there are 3 women in very powerful positions at Riot Games. That's awesome. But to be honest, I don't care who makes my games or my shows or my movies or my music or what character I play as when I'm playing a game. As long as I am being entertained, the story is good, the music is good, whatever. As long as the product is coherent and awesome, like I don't care who makes the games. Like whoever's the best at making the game or the movie or show should be able to make the game, movie, or show. Right. But like when we tune into things like E3 or Comic-Con, like we're expecting news, announcements, like something not being preached at. Like, what good does it do to tell me about inclusivity in the gaming industry?
Yeah,
I'm not a CEO of a game developing company. Like, I can't hire women or promote women into positions of power at gaming, studios. Like, I don't know. I'm probably just digging a deeper hole for myself, but like I just had to get that off my chest. But I don't know.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that it has a place in a panel. I just think if you're going to do it, at least bring something to announce at the end of it. Yeah. That would have been fantastic. Then we probably wouldn't even been talking.
Yes, you're right. Now my biggest issue is when you're told things like this about how they're going to like saying that this is kind of a dumb panel, instead of the idea that you think it's dumb because you want to hear more substance to a point or announcement. It's just they think you're called a women hater, or that you hate women.
Yeah,
it's not the case at all. Laurie Strode's one of my favorite characters in the horror genre. Ripley is one of my favorite characters in sci-fi genre.
Absolutely.
Wonder Woman's one of my favorite characters in all pop culture.
Yeah.
I don't have a thing against women. I have a thing against you wasting my time and telling me shit stories.
Yeah, right.
And this
Ghostbusters,
is the best point right here. Underfunded Scientist says, I totally agree. If they want PR for being inclusive, they should do it every other day. Exactly. Yeah. You should just operate this way. Like, right. You should live your life this way. This shouldn't be like an announcement you have to make. Like, this should just be what you do, right?
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend is
she's a girl.
Jordan, right.
I mean, come on. What more do you need?
There's things that she excels at. Like if we're doing like work around the house, like tearing things down. For some, she's better at some things than I am. I'm better at some things than she is. Yeah. There's never any reason to disregard it. There's just if I can't lift something and she can for some reason, then I'm happy to have her lift it. If she can't lift it and I can lift it, then I'm happy to lift it for her. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Women are great. I'm attracted to them. They have great qualities. They're great.
It just goes back to what Chad said. Like, there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
And like these conventions, like probably not the best place. Like, just a portion of your time should do this, and then the other portion should be doing what the entire convention is there for,
right? Or just let us know beforehand instead of putting your title up there like you're going to announce something and then you don't.
Masters of the universe,
right?
But real quick, with that panel,
sorry, buddy.
with that panel, out of curiosity, I mean, I'm not a League of Legends player. I played it in the past, but there are female heroes you can play.
Oh yeah,
or female champions, I should say.
Tons.
Okay. So, I mean, what would lead you to expect that women won't have any place in the game at all?
To be fair, Riot did go through a little bit of a scandal about harassment of females in the workplace. So
with what Blizzard's going through right now, right?
Yeah, not nearly as bad. There was no Cosby room that we know of.
Oh gosh.
But yeah,
my God.
actually back to me not hating women. My two
back to me not hating women.
I gotta climb out of this.
You bought
hole.
dig a little further.
No, my two.
There's a giant pile of dirt behind you.
Yeah, exactly. My two mains in League of Legends are both female. Nami, who is actually a mermaid, so I don't hate mermaids either. And then the other one is Sona, who is just a regular old mute female. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Riot Games, that they went through a scandal. So that to me maybe ties up why they did it.
But it was
maybe
like
it was
a year ago.
I agree.
It was like a year ago. It wasn't
we spent 50 minutes on it. You look a little suspicious.
Yeah.
But so I was pretty disappointed. I guess if you didn't already know about the MMO, like that was dropped in passing because one of the ladies that was there is on that project.
Okay.
So it's like, oh yeah, work on the upcoming Riot League of Legends MMO, and then that was it. And then it's like all the other stuff.
And then I feel like, were they making like an animated series or something too?
Yes, they do have an animated series coming out on Netflix very soon, actually, which looks really cool. And
it does. It does. I know nothing about League of Legends, but the trailer, I think I saw the trailer.
Dude,
really
the
good.
lore is so good. Like they have such a great world built in Runeterra, and it's so deep. I mean, the game's a decade old, right? And there's like 100.
Like again, I don't play the game. I played it a little for a while. It's actually the only game that made me throw my mouse across the room ever.
So it's either a good thing or a bad thing.
It was a bad thing. It was a bad thing. And the same night, my friend put his fist through the wall.
Sounds like a typical League of Legends session.
Yes. But I will say that the universe ironically reminds me of Masters of the Universe. You have like a combination of both tech and magic together. Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool. And I think they're onto something with that. I played Heroes of Norath for a while. I don't know if you know what that was. That was kind of like a Linux exclusive version of it. It was based off of the lore of a game called Savage, and it was a really, really good game. But a real quick funny story. My brother and I were at 16-Bit Arcade in Columbus, and we were just having some drinks. We were actually down there for the Wizard World Comic Con, ironically, through all this. Nice. And there was a couple of guys who started just talking to that were sitting next to us, and they happened to be artists for Riot Games. Oh, nice. And we were just joking with them, and I was praising them for. I mean, I don't know what they do or what they don't do, but I was just praising the company for their artwork and stuff. And I let them know that the game's not my cup of tea. I played then. I still play to this day. Is a game called Smite, and it is a it's a third person MOBA. And they started laughing, and they're like, "Oh, we play Smite too." So it's like I would only assume that you play like your competitions games, just to see what it's like, so you get ideas.
Right.
But that was I guess they have an art studio in Columbus, or they did at the time.
Oh wow,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool. And yes, underfunded. The Blizzard situation is insane.
Insane.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I don't know how they survive this, which is crazy. But hey, it might actually be something really good because WoW just needs to literally be taken out to the barn and put down.
Look, I want Overwatch 2. Like, please don't delay Overwatch 2.
Yeah. You might get it.
I know. Blizzard, you naturally get it. This is going to be like a delay to them is like a decade.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So moving on, I was also fond of a few things that came out of Robert Kirkman's panel. I love Robert Kirkman. He is hilarious. I could listen to that guy talk.
Yeah, he is. He is really funny, and funny. His artwork is amazing. I love his artwork. So
yeah, he's great.
I'm a Walking Dead fan, also.
Yes. So one thing I learned is that he's making a sort of Dracula movie called Renfield, which is about Renfield, obviously. So that's cool. But the one thing that maybe people might have glossed over because he kind of glossed over it, but the way he did made it sound like he didn't want to talk about it because it's in the works. And somebody asked if there was going to be an Invincible video game anytime soon. And he just like in like 2 seconds was like, we can't talk about that, and then like,
oh wow,
and I was like,
interesting.
I know that's code for
something
probably
in the works.
something.
What kind of video game is it though to play that you're invincible in?
I don't know how it'd really work, but I'm gonna go ahead and make my claim right now. You heard it here first on Showboys. At some point, we will see news about an Invincible video game in the coming year or so.
Yep.
Maybe like a Telltale game, like where
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Could be,
yeah. Because when you look at The Walking Dead, there's not. I mean, they had a Telltale game, and then there's not. There's nothing.
And they have
that's
like
really
their
great.
assorted mobile games.
Yeah,
stuff,
right.
But, I don't know. Maybe a fighting game akin to like Injustice or something could be cool. But I definitely could see a Telltale game. Actually,
I heard him. Yeah, you totally broke out there, Mike.
No, it's cool.
I was like, Hayden, get off YouTube.
There's I don't know if it's in the already in like the works, like out. There's books out, or if it's like being developed. But they're making a comic line for Clementine from The Walking Dead's Telltale games.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So they're like building on her story from the game, so that tells me that their relationship with Telltale is still a thing because they're using that character from the Telltale game. So that being said, an Invincible Telltale game would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that I'm gonna hang that claim right up next to my 10 Rings claim, and we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't have the same fate. But dang, I got my phone out because I was gonna do something, and I forgot. I gotta set my Wi-Fi priority so I don't.
There you go. So
you're looking at CoinGecko for crypto stocks. Don't lie to me.
So I want to touch on a comic series that I thought was really, really, really interesting.
Okay.
And it's the Winchester Mystery House comic series.
Oh.
And so we did an episode of that on That Strange.
Yeah.
And it looks really good, man. Like it's a horror series. It starts right at the beginning. If you know the story at all, Sarah Winchester loses, her husband dies, her daughter dies, and she gets this inheritance. So it starts there, and then it goes through her building the mansion. And the artwork looks really cool. Everything about it looks really, really cool. And I just thought it was such a random thing to have a panel. Like I was scrolling through and I was like, "Wait, Winchester Mystery House comic? That sounds awesome." and it worked because I'm on board.
So the Winchester house, though, it's haunted by everyone killed by the Winchester rifle.
Yeah, that's the alleged. Yeah.
And then it's got the crazy architecture. That's all.
To confuse.
Yeah, there's like staircases that don't go anywhere, or doors that don't go anywhere. It's really cool. They went over how they went through like to make everything accurate. They looked at like building materials from the time and construction methods and tools and clothes and everything. It was really, really cool. The entire. I mean, I was like on the edge of my seat the entire panel. So.
Wow. It's like you get shot by the Winchester rifle and like you sit up as a ghost.
Yeah.
You look around. Someone's holding like a sign that says like, go this way if you're shot by Winchester. We'll direct you where you're staying beyond here.
Right.
It's like the people on the runways at the airport. With Also, speaking of horror comic books, in that DC Read with the Lights On panel, it was mainly talking about Conjuring comic books that DC is making. So I know you're a fan of The Conjuring, Jordan, and you're a fan of comic books. So
it's a double threat.
And I have the third in there. DC is making them. So there you go. Triple whammy.
Triple threat. Yeah. Real quick, Chad, were you going to say something else about the Winchester?
No.
Okay.
No, you didn't. Sure. Yep. Yeah, I definitely. That's really cool. I'm a big fan. I just went through watching actually altogether the entire Conjuring series back to back. I had never seen any of them before, and we did a couple episodes pertaining to them on That Strange. So that's really cool. I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, for sure. So Chad, do you want to talk about some of the stuff that like you followed,
wrote about,
the horror and the sci-fi stuff?
Yeah. So the very first thing I wrote was the Winchester that I just discussed. Second thing I wrote was the thing I mentioned earlier, which is Blade Runner Black Lotus, which is coming out in the fall to Crunchyroll and Adult Swim. And it's an anime series taking place in Blade Runner's universe. And it just looks really good, man. The artwork looks super cool. I'm a big fan of Blade Runner. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of Blade Runner. I like Blade Runner, but I've never gone back and read the original book, and I can't for the name. Is it like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep or something like that? Is the original book that it was based off of? But it's just the trailer for this anime series looks really, really cool. So the panel was kind of building out their cast. They had the main voice actor on there, and it's going to be following a female. I can't remember what their androids are called. They have like a specific name in what are the androids called in Blade Runner? Anybody?
No clue.
Replicant. Oh,
there you go.
There we go. So it follows a female replicant, and it's right after Blackout 2022, which was a short film that was a prequel to Blade Runner, the second movie, 2049. So it seems like that got a following, and they decided to maybe pick up the story right after that. So I thought it was really cool. Then I mostly focused on Walking Dead news. I did an article on Fear the Walking Dead season 7. I stopped watching Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The new trailer looks really cool.
You said 7?
Yeah.
There's 7 seasons of that show?
Right.
Holy cow.
So my main gripe with Fear the Walking Dead is that I think it started really cool. I think it had a really good setup, a really good premise.
So awesome.
And then it kind of slowly progressed to being a little too much like the original series. So, I was very intrigued by first days of the outbreak in Los Angeles, and then and then they leave, which, not saying that that's not the smart thing to do, leave Los Angeles, but they just after the first season they go off and
on a boat.
So the new trailer looks really good. I am still somewhat of a fan of Morgan. I don't think that his character on The Walking Dead is very good. Now, I think the original, the first episode, he was fantastic, and that actor is fantastic in Jericho also. So when they announced that he was coming back, I was super excited, and it kind of fizzled out for me. But
his character got worse when he joined the kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's that's.
I gotta say, I loved that first season of Fear the Walking Dead because
so good.
You don't see that very often in zombie movies or shows. That whole first season is the start of the outbreak. You never see that.
You never see it, right?
Every show or movie is somebody waking up in a hospital bed. They walk outside and everyone's gone.
The drug scene was when they woke up from the hangover from the narcotics.
It's
so
just
good.
Seeing the beginning of the breakup. There's a show on Netflix that I really enjoyed called Black Summer, which is very similar. The second season just came out maybe end of June sometime. It was very recent. I haven't watched the second season yet. I've been waiting for my wife to watch it with me because we watched the first season. But the first season was so good. It's all, same thing, the start of the outbreak, and getting to see people try to, adjust and survive and stuff is super cool. Not that there's anything wrong with, what we normally get, which is you're in the middle of it, seeing the ramifications of human society in an apocalypse type event. But I can't really think of many things that show the start of an outbreak besides, Night of the Living Dead, right?
Right.
And I know this is what you're talking about, but the subtle escalation that first season had, from just being in like the ruins of like a abandoned church to just random things on the street happening, like, or on the highway happening, where people can't explain what's happening, and people are viewing these people that are infected just not going down from being shot, to riots breaking out over it.
Yeah, I love the part when they like pan
decline
out, like from an aerial shot, and you just see like the entire city is just like completely wrecked, and there's like fire. I'm just like, oh yes.
I think there was who was the stepdad, the dad/stepdad in the first season. What was his name?
I can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. So he was in the Humvee with a bunch of National Guard or something like that, and they had to stop at a building. They had to go in there and contain something, and he could hear the radio. They're all just like wiped out.
Yeah,
like that's like I want to see that.
Yeah, and just like the whole like containment like camp thing that they had set up,
which was
like,
great.
Yeah, it was just so now the episodes turned into reminiscing about how amazing season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead is.
Right.
So thanks for joining us. I hope you like season 1 of that show.
Even The Walking Dead, obviously the show itself, it was amazing for many seasons.
Yeah, it really was.
Especially till Rick left. But when the first episode came out of The Walking Dead, I never had read the comics, honestly, before then. But when I saw that first episode, I knew it was a pop culture phenomenon. I knew that there was something different about it, and I was definitely right with that feeling, because it grew into this huge thing, and the prices of those books skyrocketed. They barely even skyrocketed before the show came out on AMC. It just boomed through the roof. And I think at the Comic-Con they didn't talk about the movie for Rick Grimes, did they?
Yeah, so that was the thing that was like the red herring that was missing from this, is they didn't really touch. I mean, they touched that it's still happening, but I thought we would maybe get something, a teaser or something. I mean, he's been off the how long? How many seasons has he been off the show? I mean, it's 3. Been 3. Yeah. So and the other article I wrote was the trailer for season 11 of The Walking Dead, which is seemingly going to be the last.
Yeah, it's going to be like 1 billion episodes too, and they're splitting it up into 2.
Right.
That's
so
crazy.
I mean, it looks good. I think it's, I loved the first half of The Walking Dead, but it's time for it to end, especially when your main character, the actor, is like, I don't want to do it anymore, or whatever his excuse was to leave. Like, I know they kind of did some damage control with the movie coming out, but
Kirkman and his individual panel was asked, he started out like first 10 minutes were just him giving updates about stuff, and then the rest of the panel was just him answering questions from Twitter, and one of them was about the movie, and he's like, we just don't have anything really to update you with, and I don't want to like update you with stuff that's going to disappoint you, because it's still in development, so like things can change, but it is still in development, and it is something that they're still working hard at putting out. But that's all I heard about the movie.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be curious how they tie it. So I did read the comics before the show came out, and that was probably back in high school. Maybe I read them, or it was well before the show. But I think the show did really good, but it started to get stale right up till Negan came on, and then Negan for me kind of revigorated it, because that was my favorite character from the comics, and I think his actor is fantastic at playing
Jeffrey
Negan.
Dean Morgan.
It's just like that first episode that he's on is just fantastic, and then the
fact that they like went along with the Glenn scene. I
didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. Like, I knew what was going to happen, so I was well versed in the comics at that point. Like, no way they're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because you saw that with the governor. Like, the governor did a lot of really heinous things in the comic.
Yeah.
He was just like a schoolgirl in the
Yeah,
show.
right.
He took Rick's hand in the comics. You know,
and
Rick
he
lost
did a
his
lot
hand.
of very bad things to Michonne.
Yeah.
And then Michonne did a lot of very bad things back
Yeah,
again.
right.
So when they kind of like tamed that down, I was like, okay, they're not going to do the Glenn thing.
Have you guys watched the unedited version of Negan's first appearance, where they actually allow him to cuss and everything?
Oh no, you know what? That's funny because I mean, it's relatively word for word out of the comics minus the cuss words.
Yep. And
there's
an unedited version where you can watch it. It's on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'll have to watch that for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that, the leading up to Negan, I got really irritated with the way they ended that season, leaving the I don't know why. Like, I know it's totally, yeah. It just really irritated me. So I was like, already letting go of the show because of that. But Negan, kept me going a little bit longer. But then after Rick left, it's just like, it's time to end. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys both made it farther than me, so congratulations.
You should get to that point at least.
Yeah, I can't.
I saw my own version of how I wished it would end, seeing Rick.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You know what happens to Rick, right, Mike? You should watch it.
Yeah, you should.
All right. You convinced me. I'll add it to my giant, massive backlog of things to watch. So,
and one more thing, real quick, is Rick is probably as far as TV shows go, he's one of my favorite characters ever on any type of TV series.
Yeah,
Andrew Lincoln crushed it. Like,
absolutely,
he did such a great job as Rick. And
the story arc from being compassionate to loving to loyal to brutal to mixing all of those emotions together to he put it all together to just like an arc of a character that was perfect for what he needed.
Fantastic job.
It just seemed, it seemed like they did a really good job killing characters off that you weren't expecting them to kill off, and I think they go away from the comics a little bit, and that might be why a lot of people weren't expecting certain characters. But then once they got to the point where they were like advertising who was leaving off the show, I thought it was really odd.
Nick's here with us in spirit. Actually, can we just take a moment?
Hold on, I wasn't laughing at what he said. I was laughing at the picture.
That's what I was just going to say. I was like, look at that picture. Man, he's looking spiffy. He cleans up nice.
It's quite a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Nick says Mike's going to get right to that, straight to the bottom of the pile, which unfortunately is true.
Yeah.
But it has been added to the pile, so maybe at some point.
Someday
it might happen. Jordan, when did you tell me to watch Stargirl?
Whenever it came out, because I was biased.
Which was not like 2 months
last
ago,
year, right?
So let me tell you, I just started it like a month ago.
Yeah.
So he told me like a year ago, and I'm just
May
now
18,
getting to
2020.
So I get to him. It just takes a while. Because there's too much stuff to watch. But
it's a good show, right? Do you like it so far?
I'm like 4 or 5 episodes in. I enjoy it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, if you know the Justice Society comic books, they just do nothing but like pay homage to it. And
that's great because I don't know anything about them, and I still like the show.
Great,
but it's I love it when they stay true. But yeah, I didn't mean to derail that entire thing. We'll just blame Nick. It's all his fault.
That's good.
But yeah,
I have one more Walking Dead thing, and that is season 2 trailer for or first look at the Walking Dead World Beyond, which I have not watched yet.
Okay.
Maybe when it's all out, I'll binge it at some point, but not really. I'm kind of Walking Dead I'm kind of out of it at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is that all of your write-ups that you did?
And then I did the Dune trailer, the second Dune trailer. Yep.
Dune does look pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
It does. I've never read the book. I never watched any of the older movies. It kind of I maybe I'm just being hopeful, but it has a little bit of a Star Wars vibe to it. It has a Tatooine vibe to it, if you will. I don't know. I don't know what's giving me that. Sure. If it's just the sand or what, like
there's like even a man eating vagina in the sand.
Yeah, that, and then
Padme's in that movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
that was a terrible joke. But yeah, Nick, that is normally my job here, anyways.
Yes.
Throwing us off track, 100%. He
Staying true
even
to your
does it
character.
when he's not on the show. What a guy. Yeah, the Dune movie looks really cool. I'm pretty hyped about that. Yeah, so let me go through some of the things that I wrote down because I know Jordan came highly prepared tonight with all of his stuff, and we'll just pretend like this comment from Nick was from the comment I just said, but it wasn't. But yeah, wow. So Friday, from the Friday panels, I threw this on there for Nick because I know who he is. I understand him. But there's a Dragon Ball Z panel, something about a new movie, something about some crazy like intro song that was just insane.
It's one giant guitar lead.
Yeah, I barely made it through the song, and then I was like, all right, I'm out. But I did link Nick the video, so I did my duty. I told my friend about something from a series he loves. But then there was a panel
real quick. Is Nick a Dragon Ball Z fan? Obviously.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay.
He dabbles.
I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan all the way up through Dragon Ball GT.
Do they just Dragon Ball
which honestly
Dragon
is
Ball
just Dragon
B?
Ball Z, but yeah, they're a bunch of like car models.
That's awesome. But moving on, I did catch the panel for Stephen Amell's new show on Stars called Heels, which is about the underground.
Walking in high heels.
Yes.
Yes, that's
he
exactly
is a cross-dressing man who has an affinity for high heel shoes. And no, it's about the underground independent wrestling circuit and in a small town. And he is a wrestler who is the heel, which I don't know if you're familiar with the term heel. It's usually like the villain, the person people like to hate. But yeah, it's all about like the indie wrestling stuff. And not a fan of wrestling, but it looked interesting.
Show looks really good. Yeah, it does look interesting for whatever reason. I'm the same way. I couldn't care less about wrestling. I've never watched it a day in my life, but it does look really interesting. The two like rival, the two rival brothers things I thought was really cool.
So it premieres August 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern on Stars, which does that mean it will be on Hulu next day? I feel like maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
We'll find out. But yeah, stars Stephen Amell, obviously, from Arrow. But also James Harrison is in this show, which if you watch the Footballs, he was a very brutal linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he is one mammoth of a man. Like his muscles have muscles. It's crazy. Like I don't know. I was shocked to see. I had no idea that he acted, but yeah, he's in the show, which I think is perfect because he is like a behemoth of a person and wrestling. I mean, come on,
right?
Perfect fit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I might check it out if I can find it anywhere because I don't have Stars. But yeah, interesting.
I got to be honest. I really didn't even know Stars was still a thing until I saw it on the So
same. But then there's the Paramount Plus peak animation panel that I watched, which I already talked about. Star Wars Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, Star Trek The Lower Decks. But then they had another show called The Harper House, which kind of looked funny. Another animated show premieres September 16th. I doubt I'll catch it, but it stuck out as something that I would make a bullet point for, so I have to mention it. Adventure Time Distant Lands had a panel. I'm not a big Adventure Time fan, but they do have a panel, so if you're into that, you can go check it out. There's a Marvel Comics X-Men panel, which was interesting. I watched at like 1.25 speed on YouTube. And they just kind of talked about all the new stuff going on with the X-Men in the comics. And I don't read Marvel comics, but I was kind of interested in this panel, and it kind of made me want to get into the X-Men comics.
Were they talking about Krakoa and such?
Yeah. Apparently the mutants like inhabit Mars now, and it's like the capital of the galaxy or something.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Krakoa is like a weird island that they
sent villains to.
They've gone to. Krakoa should be on Earth if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but is that where they like sent villains to or something? I don't know.
A while, Krakoa is like a living island.
Okay.
And they kind of took Utopia, which is where Scott Summers Cyclops tried to take the rest of the X-Men and put them on the island and preserve mutants, because mutants are kind of dying off. That led kind of into Avengers vs. X-Men, because he believed that the Phoenix was going to rebirth the X-Men or rebirth mutants across the Earth. And you've seen rap.
Yep. Yes.
And it was a really unique storyline that kind of pitted Cyclops against Captain America, obviously Avengers vs. X-Men. And eventually, when X-Men went away from Marvel for a while, the way they brought him back now, they've rebooted him a couple times since then. It's just kind of a mess, to be honest with you. But Krakoa kind of unites all mutants to one island. And there's a council of Krakoa. They have a technical name, but they're basically the council that runs it. It's interesting, though, because a lot of leaders are on there that you never would expect to be, and Apocalypse is one of them. So Apocalypse is kind of working with the rest of the mutants. They're trying to, all the mutants are like basically one team to work together. But it's super weird because they kill off the X-Men, and you're kind of like, what the hell just happened in this first comic? It's like Steven Seagal on Executive Decision. You're like, what? I'm here to see Steven Seagal. He just got ripped out of a plane. And so the first issue kills off all the X-Men, but it's okay because Krakoa has like seedlings of all these different mutants and rebirths them.
So basically they talked about like the new X-Men team. New X-Men was voted on by fans or something. They talked about some gala of some sort, which was an event or something. I don't know. It sounded really interesting, but I doubt I'll read any because
I'll always love the X-Men, but they're just a disaster.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I loved the cartoon when I was growing up of X-Men, so that's where it started for me. And then that I don't hate the movies as much as seemingly everybody else does. I think they're fun. My kids like them. I think we can get much better. And Logan kind of pointed to that I think Logan's fantastic. So
little Courtney family Easter egg for you guys that may or may not have been the inspiration for my daughter's name.
Oh, really? Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's not dorky or anything.
Her name's definitely not Logan.
Yeah.
It's definitely 100% Wolverine. Wolverine Courtney.
Honestly, like the X-Men, like it's amazing. The X-Men, the story about them in general, and I support this. It's really, really cool. They're what's now an annoying type of SJW thing is back then was the original, like a story of adversity and acceptance and being accepted because you're different. They were the closest to just being human, but they had these mutations that just made them different. They were like the 2 or 3% of people that were different than your average person walking down the street. They were hated for it. And all they tried to do was good, but they're never looked on for that. And that story will always be one of the best things in comic books. And I'm a little scared of what they're going to do with today's age, taking that and putting that into the MCU. That's one of my biggest fears. For the MCU.
I mean, I think I'm excited for it. But I have my concerns, and I have my concerns with the Deadpool 3 also. Although it seems like it's shaping up to be what a lot of people want, so we'll see. I don't know.
Two things: the Deadpool Korg reaction trailer to Free Guy is hilarious. If you haven't seen that, you should watch it because it's
definitely
great. But it pretty much
really
confirms that Deadpool is in the MCU because he's interacting with Korg. But also funny because obviously Taika Waititi and Ryan Reynolds worked on Free Guy. Anyways, but the other thing, more importantly, is it's almost like you can get across important messages simply through storytelling in a good way without doing what everybody is doing today. with as far as SJW preachy soapbox things.
Yeah.
Like X-Men literally
Did
was social justice like back then when it came out, and they just did it through storytelling, and they didn't like make characters named like Snowflake or Screen Time or whatever these ridiculous new comic characters that
I was
are
saying, there's actually a character named Snowflake, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They just made interesting characters that were different than everyone, and you picked up on it through good storytelling.
Right.
But again, I don't want to go down a giant rant and get canceled before our.
In the very beginning, when I said Comic-Con has always been something that has like irritated me, it's because a lot of these things we keep going on to, and there's interviews where I'm told that certain movies weren't made for me. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
The platforms this is happening and turning into when it should be something about what it's actually meant to be. It's more. It becomes more division than unity, which is psychotic. It's insane. Yeah. Comics have always tackled social issues and controversial social issues, whether it be drugs or race or gender or sexual preference.
Yeah,
and they've always had a generally good way of going about it. North Star, who's a mutant in part of Alpha Flight, a Canadian superhero team. He came out as gay, and it made sense. Iceman came out as gay in the last 7 or 8 years, and Iceman is one of my favorite X-Men, and it's very obvious, other than the X-Men movies, that he's I thought he might have been gay, this entire time. It made sense, but he went from like this Omega mutant with like creating these crazy cool like ice spikes and like growing tall and destroying things to just sliding on ice and with a happy smile on his face.
Literally gonna make a figure skating joke. Yeah, I didn't want to like go there.
It doesn't make sense, and like it's not what they turned him into. That like just releasing that is what ruined the characters. Well, how you started writing him beyond that point.
Yeah,
right.
So, Again, I don't want to go into a whole lot, but that's. I mean, I still like Iceman, but holy crap, that irritated me.
That's what art accomplishes, though, right? Art in general is social commentary, like regardless of the form, be it music, comics, movies, what have you, books, anything. And they always have been, and they've always been effective tools. So, like, I don't understand. I don't know. Maybe again, it's because I'm a straight white male that I don't understand. But like, at the point of just like cramming it down the throats of consumers so blatantly, it's like, I don't know. If you have half a brain and you watch a movie, you can pick up on the social commentary, and it will make you feel a certain way if you're like a decent human being who can pick up on things. Like, and if you can't do that, then there probably isn't much hope for you anyways, right? But again, we'll move on. Speaking of disasters, there was actually a really good segue before we went into that whole tirade, but then it also applies to that tirade. There was a Masters of the Universe panel, which I am not a Masters of the Universe fan. I am a Kevin Smith fan, but he is getting demolished right now. And it kind of makes me feel bad for Kevin Smith, and then also for me for liking Kevin Smith, because apparently he just lied through his teeth about everything about Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, it's seeming that way for sure. Yeah.
Look real quick. I just want to jump on this real quick before I say anything that's a big mistake.
The opinions expressed by Jordan on the show are not that of
We're gonna be like right next to like Steven Crowder videos and all these other hated conservative people. But we gotta get something straight across. He-Man was the original He-Man TV show was not a good TV show. It was created to sell a line of toys, and it was very successful at that.
Yeah,
the acting was terrible. The storylines were horrible. Animation was horrible. I'm saying this is a fact, but it's obviously just an opinion, even though I think it's a fact. So whatever you need to do, you can do. Okay. And it's considered Masters of the Universe. It's not like called He-Man, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it just takes place in that the universe. The way it was advertised, though, we thought we were going to see a lot of great nostalgia and a whole series based on these characters. Like, okay, these toys that we love collecting, that it's finally going to be justified.
Yeah.
Right. You're not going to see like a 360-pound guy of just pure muscle, just like going like.
Yeah, right.
Voice lines don't match up, you know.
Right.
And it was finally going to be justified, but then it just becomes like exactly not that. They take a lot of these legacy characters, shuffle them off to the side. They did a lot of really cool things like Triclops. I don't know if you know what Triclops is, but they made him kind of like a priest of tech instead of magic, and tech finally overtook magic, and they did some cool things that you ever wondered in the Masters of the Universe, the balance of power between tech and magic, almost like a Star Wars thing. Star Wars tech took over, obviously, the magic. Magic was a minority in being put to use with the Force. Masters of the Universe has this tech and magic balance, and tech just overthrown it completely. That was a big part of the story. I like that. I'll give credit where it's due. But even Teela, I don't hate the Teela character. I really hated what they made her aesthetics become. I didn't like. I actually like the supporting character. I can't remember her name, but I really did like the supporting character who was her ally. Did you guys watch the whole series or no?
Nothing.
No.
I know nothing about Masters of the Universe.
So this won't last very, very long because I couldn't finish the whole thing because I wasn't a huge fan of it. But they did a lot of really cool things. Mark Hamill portrayed way too much of the Joker in Skeletor, but I never got to. So they irritated me by the end of episode 1. I watched it through like episode 2 or 3, and when I stopped there, I was told that the rest of it would have irritated me too. So
right, yeah.
Nice. Man at Arms is a character in it. They supposedly did him good justice, but overall, it's a pass. My girlfriend's son loved it. He thought it was great, which is great.
Yeah.
But Kevin Smith has obviously taken a lot of heat. And he's taken a lot of heat from what's supposedly a vocal minority, which you can make that argument. But when it comes to reviews on certain things that come out, in order to use it as a solid point, you have to have a vocal majority praising the opposite. Correct?
Right.
And there's not a vocal majority praising the opposite.
Yeah.
All you have is the higher ups, the ones that quote unquote matter at Rotten Tomatoes giving a good score.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Scores
which
are
is
still
not really a good
exactly.
But yeah, so everyone just take a quick moment and pour one out for our boy Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
He needs it. But yeah, so there was a panel for that. I did not watch. Then there was an Amazon panel where they discussed at length the upcoming Wheel of Time show, which was described as the bridge between Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. I know nothing about the Wheel of Time, but it's based off a series of novels that there are like 14 books. But yeah, it's apparently like
interesting way to describe
a bridge between
it,
Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, like that type of universe, environment, characters, fantasy. It's coming in November of 2021, first season of the show.
It's a documentary, or
sorry. Like if you
it's just a fantasy show based off of this series of 14 books, but it's like a combination of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, like that style. Okay,
so it's their own thing. It's their own thing.
Yes.
Like if fantasy exists, magic is kind of on the lowdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm intrigued by this. I think that
they're too, honestly,
even if you look at the like cover for the show or whatever you want to call it, it looks like Game of Thrones. I mean, it looks like they just took Game of Thrones out and then put their title in there. So I'm excited for it. It's a little weird to me because I think they're doing a Lord of the Rings show, right?
Supposedly,
yes. They've already spent like $500 billion or million or billion. I don't know. It was some sort of billion.
Yeah. So it looks like they're stacking their fantasy deck a little bit for one of these shows not being good, which could be
totally
the case.
Fine.
So
I'm here for that because I love the fantasy stuff. They actually have a great show, Carnival Row, if you've ever seen that. It's like up there with the fantasy meets steampunk almost.
Oh wow.
It's really good. Orlando Bloom is in it. It's good. I enjoyed the first season.
Mike, you played Battles of Middle Earth with me, right? Battle of Middle Earth 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the only RTS game I've ever liked.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. We talked about it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Last What's Playing episode we talked about it. But that was announced as a big part of their panel, which was cool. The IMDb TV platform was announced, which is a free streaming service through Amazon Prime. And their big announcement for that was the Leverage Redemption series being an IMDb original, which is a continuation of the original Leverage series, which I think ended in like 2012 or something. It was in the like mid 2000s. I never heard of the show, but apparently a lot of people liked it. Then they talked about a show called Soldiers or Zombies, which, if I'm being honest, look really terrible. So that's all I'm going to say about it. If the title sounds interesting, just YouTube it. It looks not good.
Yeah.
But also it could have looked not good because all these videos I watched on 1.25 playback speed. So I could get through as much as I could.
There you go.
So it could have just been the speed that made it like look really not great, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say probably not great.
Yeah.
And then they talked about a new series called I Know What You Did Last Summer, based off the movie. So I don't know. I mean, I watched that movie back in the day.
I liked, but I think there's two of them, right? I liked both of them.
Even the second one was
Know What You Did
outrageous, but it was good.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe that might be a cool series. Might check it out. Rick and Morty had a panel. I think they might have had two panels. Nothing too exciting. They just kind of talked about things. They didn't make any sort of announcements on at least the one that I watched. And then we had, rounding out my Friday, was the DC Read with the Lights On, which we talked about. And the big takeaway for me was the DC Vampire book they're working on. And then they are, like I told you, Jordan, the big focus of their panel was the Conjuring comic. Which might be interesting to you guys.
So the Conjuring comic are they going to go into like other investigators, or are they going to take like some of the main?
It was on in the background and at an upped speed, so I was like, they were talking really fast. And I
wonder if they're going to take the nun and like other situations throughout the time and got her. To the
I'm not sure. I should have paid more attention because after I watched it, I was like, oh, Jordan will probably be interested in that. And then I just clicked on the next video.
You're right. If there's anybody who like follows the Conjuring series, I've talked to multiple people who don't know this exists, but one of my favorite movies in the Conjuring series is The Curse of La Llorona. It's very underrated, and
I think it's very, very underrated. I agree with that. That's probably one of my favorite ones. I had high hopes for The Nun. And I talked about I had really high hopes for the nun because nuns just terrify me.
Dude, she was terrifying.
It's just terrifying.
I can't tell.
I think
it's a demon. You can
it's a demon.
It's a mockery. So I think it's a male in a nun outfit,
right?
Just to mock the.
But just absolutely terrifying. And then the nun movie was just not terrifying.
The priest was a cool character, though.
I like that. Yeah,
he felt like almost like a demon hunter.
Right.
He took on the paranormal jobs that they don't normally take. But the Annabelle creation is probably the scariest movie.
Yeah.
And then I would say that the Curse of La Llorona is the second scariest.
Yeah, she's terrifying, I think.
There's
just something about it. Yeah.
Terrifying, yeah. Like I mean, I know you do that strange. Have you ever seen like in real life, you ever seen a ghost?
I have not. No.
So I grew up in a haunted house, like a really haunted house.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
Yeah, and we were. I mean, I say fortunate now, but like it's like when you're growing up, you don't realize. But we saw full figure apparitions a couple times.
Oh, really?
Which is super rare, obviously.
Yeah.
But the Curse of La Llorona is obviously not exactly that. But just the intensity that you feel while staring at her, while she's not doing anything, is the closest thing I've seen probably in any movie to seeing an actual ghost.
Really?
And so so when I see that, I'm like, oh, someone's seen a ghost.
Someone's seen a ghost. Yeah. That's interesting. We might have to have you on to talk about some of those stories. I think that'd be a really cool episode.
Halloween's coming up.
Yeah, there we go.
That Haunting of Hill House episode, the whole reason I spent most of it sitting like this was
because of him.
He was telling stories, and I was like, I can't handle this.
Yeah. Some of the stories involved my brothers. I was really young, and we could dive into it, but like later. But not to go crazy off topic, I'm one of those people. There's a scientific side to paranormal things, and there's a spiritual side to paranormal things. Right. And the house that we grew up in was a crossroads of those two things. And so yeah, there's a whole bunch of happenings in that. But
yeah, definitely sounds like a great That's Strange episode for sure.
Yeah, I would enjoy listening to that for sure.
With the lights,
preferably not in my dark basement.
Right.
Yeah, with the
really late at night.
Pop figure falls off. Pop figure falls off. Pop figure falls off.
Yeah. This would be the time of this episode for that to happen.
Right.
That's where it happened in Wendigoon's episode. So, but yeah, so the DC Read with the Lights On was pretty cool. Then Saturday there were only two that caught my attention, and we kind of briefly touched on both. The Riot Games one, which was extremely disappointing for me, and then the Robert Kirkman at Home one, which was pretty cool. He talked about, the Walking Dead movie still in development. He talked about the Invincible live action movie still in development, but like the Walking Dead movie, it's too early on. They don't really have much to announce, but there's stuff going on. Nothing's set in stone yet. To announce, so to avoid disappointing at people, he's just not talking about them.
So is there anything on this Walking Dead movie? Is this going to be like the final episode per se?
I have no idea, but I know it's like a Rick Grimes story.
Yeah,
so,
I know that. It just seems like
if he's gone, I don't know.
We don't even know if it's going to be the Ohio Commonwealth, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we know anything.
Not many details, that's for sure.
You better not shave.
Coral. Hope we can get some Coral memes from the movie at least. But yeah, he talked about there, a lot of stuff going on with Image Comics. There's an Oblivion song movie in development, which is an adaptation of one of those comics. He talked about, the Renfield movie we talked about. Alluded to a few things Invincible wise for season 2. Talked about the Invincible movie very briefly. And then that little side note of dismissing the Invincible video game question, which I feel like, I don't know why even include it if like it's
right.
I mean, there's got to be
because he's not getting asked questions.
It's not live. Right?
Yeah. So
these are all picked.
It's odd that it's picked and that very strange.
Something's going on.
At the core of it, though, that is Robert Kirkman.
I don't know why I just tickled my cheeks.
The dude's like
but
in the least non-sexual way, the dude's a tease.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, right.
Very
Good way to
much
put it.
So.
Yeah.
Very much in a sexual and non-sexual way.
Yes. But definitely sexual.
I kind of like I really like Robert Kirkman and but I get the vibe that he may be a little difficult to work with, and I don't know if that's just from all the showrunners that came and went on The Walking Dead.
How nobody could stay on for more than a season.
Yeah,
of The Walking Dead
it seems like which to be fair, it's his thing,
Yeah.
So I get it, but I feel like there's something behind the scenes that he doesn't like show out in public.
I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, everyone's got their demons.
Right.
There's a really funny interview that Kevin Smith did with Robert Kirkman, and it was hysterical, and I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
For so long. But basically, Robert Kirkman just wants money, so he'll do anything to make money. So.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much it for me. Jordan, is there anything that you would care to talk about before we kind of wrap up here?
Honestly, it worked out just how I thought. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let the news come to me, and I'll react to it as I hear it, right?
Yeah. Enjoy it. So as always, we have the Answer the Boys weekly topic. So this week, I asked, what are your thoughts on Comic-Con 2021 or Comic-Con in general? Any announcements or news from this year's Comic-Con that got you excited? Let us know, and we'll chat about them on the show. And I just don't think Comic-Con lands that much, at least this year's. We had one comment from our good friend Underfunded Scientist, who said, I've never been to one, but I love them and want to. So I agree. I've never been to one either. And he also agrees with the Robert Kirkman
Definitely sexual.
That sounds like a great punk rock band name, by the way. So we'll just bookmark that. Any of you aspiring punk rock artists, that one's for you.
You have your name. It's free.
Yeah. So thanks for chiming in the Answer the Boys topic. We love it. We've talked about it a ton. Every week, look out for the topic of the week and make sure you get your comments in, because it's really fun to go over what you guys talk about in Discord. Makes for good content on the show. Makes my job easier because I don't have to think about a lot more things to talk about. So
yeah, there's still definitely a couple panels that I want to go back and watch. I want to watch. Todd Mcfarlane had one. I love Todd McFarlane.
He did.
I kind of breezed through it. Didn't look like there was anything that big out of it, but I still like listening to him talk. So
I think he announced along with the DC multiverse, he was going to do some new Spawn figures.
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
I think that was those
they were definitely
mentioned earlier.
Yeah, he was definitely holding some stuff up as I was breezing through, but I didn't really see what it was, so that might be. And then I think Batman: The Long Halloween Part 2, the animated thing, had a panel, and that's my absolutely favorite Batman graphic novel, hands down, without question.
Because Jordan's been telling us we need to watch it.
Yes, I'm gonna wait until they're both out so I can watch.
Good for you.
Back to back.
So and I know we actually talked about this like the last episode. I was like, I always feel so. No, we talked about it afterwards. I was like, I felt so bad because I was always stealing what you wanted to say on Star Wars.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So Batman: Long Halloween is also my favorite. Novel for Batman. Dark Victory, it was good. Wasn't like up there with it, but the artwork was amazing on Long Halloween. I talked to a guy earlier about the Joker with the piano key teeth. It's just so good. But the cartoon, as someone also who knows the novel really well, the cartoon has a way of changing enough in the right manner to
that's what I hear,
to keep viewers in, and also switching things up to keep people like you and I guessing as to who it could be or what's going on. But it is also, I don't plug this in because I love everything DC. It's part of the new DC animated universe they're launching.
No,
I don't know if you knew that, but
no,
Superman Man of Tomorrow is the first one, and it's about Clark Kent first becoming Superman in Metropolis. He runs into Lobo and fights Parasite. Really, really cool stuff. And then the second movie they have out in line is they introduce Barry Allen. He travels through time to World War II and meets the Justice Society. And the Batman Long Halloween introduces the Batman they're going to plug into that particular Barry Allen and Clark Kent.
Superman. Okay,
nice,
cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the DC animated stuff for sure.
Oh, I tell you what, man. So when Arkham Knight came out, I played Arkham Knight, and there's so many animated Batman movies. Okay, so I like watching movies and stuff of the video games I'm playing. That we talk about it all the time. So when Spider-Man came out, I was like, dude, I cannot wait to watch these animated Spider-Man movies, like thinking that there was going to be anything outside of Into the Spider-Verse, and there wasn't, which I thought it's just not a thing that Marvel does or does very well right now. It seems like they're maybe trying to change that a little bit. I hope they change that because there's a lot of cool Marvel stories that they could tell in these graphic novels and not spend, billions of dollars making MCU movies out of them. So
it might be psychotic, and this is probably way into left field. And I probably critique Marvel more than I should at times. I do love it. I would love to join any conversation regarding anything Marvel, honestly. But it'd be kind of cool to have Spider-Ham from Into the Spider-Verse show up in the MCU.
Yeah, that would be cool.
In cartoon form. I know that sounds outrageous. It's almost like a Roger Rabbit situation, but when you start doing what the Loki TV show did with connecting different multiverse, there could be a particular universe where the chemical compounds we're just a bunch of floating ooze having this conversation on a podcast right now.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit. So
right.
You get to the part with the multiverse of madness and what they're doing with Spider-Man. It's just, why the hell not do it?
Right. Yeah. It might happen.
Already.
Yeah. It might.
We had Throg.
And Throg is obviously in Loki. They're on their way. but I'd like to see the actual cartoon version of Spider-Man show up, like a Roger Rabbit situation.
You know, I'm like slightly worried for No Way Home, just in the sense that since Spider-Man came into the MCU, they don't really, it's like they're just like MCU stories, you know, and there's so many cool Spider-Man stories that they could tell in these movies. And I was hoping there was like a hint that they were going to do Kraven's Last Hunt, which is my favorite Spider-Man comic. So it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing now. It seems like they're going to do like live action Into the Spider-Verse type of deal, which it could be cool. I'll agree. Into the Spider-Verse blew me away. I think it's one of the best comic book movies, but you know, just give me a cool New York City Spider-Man story. And that could have been the perfect topper, because we left to New York in the second one, which is like absurd because New York is just as big of a character to me as Spider-Man is. So, you know, that irritates me a lot, but we'll see. I have high hopes for it, but I'm kind of keeping.
I want to see the struggling Peter Parker.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see him like. I mean, I don't know if he's even still in he's still in high school, but I want to see him struggling with his grades and doing the Spider-Man thing. I want to see him struggle with girls. You know, the Tobey Maguire landed that whole idea perfectly, where like, you know, he was a perfectly, you know, he had issues with money, issues with women, all the cool kid stuff. You know, he couldn't achieve, but he was, you know, a grade A student, and it all switched when he became Spider-Man. Yeah, especially Black Suit Spider-Man. I want to see that with Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it seems like Kraven's Last Hunt would have been the perfect way to do that. Now that his identity is out at the end of Far From Home, that would have been the perfect way to. Having Kraven,
Sony doesn't really make it happen, right?
Right. So. You know, that the whole character sell-off thing really irritates me when you look at it, because it limits the stories that they can tell. So it seems like Sony's never going to give those characters up. They might, because Fox gave up, and I believe Fox gave up X-Men and Deadpool and all that, right? Back to Marvel. So it might happen, but you know, if I was Sony, I wouldn't.
No, absolutely. Yeah. If I was the MCU, I would honestly take a story. I would take that and put maybe and do the exact opposite, where Iron Man lifted Spider-Man into like the main battles and gave him what he needed tech-wise to participate and everything. It'd be kind of fun to introduce Norman Osborn into it at this point. Make him the Iron Patriot, which kind of mocks the being of Iron Man, and have him go after Spider-Man. That'd be kind of
that would be cool. Yeah.
If you're listening,
especially with their connection with Peter and Tony.
Because Norman Osborn is basically an evil Tony Stark. He's not as smart, but he has the
He's got the money. Yeah. I think that I think that they just like, I don't know if they're going. They kind of teased at the end of Homecoming that a Sinister Six style movie coming, where they have Scorpion in jail talking to. So I don't know if that's in the plans. I don't know which way they're going. It seems like they're going the multiverse way.
They need to bring something together with that, because, you know, apart from Batman's Rogue Gallery, Spider-Man's the second place when it comes to Rogues Gallery. You know, Vulture, Rhino, Venom. Dr. Octopus, Electro. It's just they're all great.
Chameleon would be a great, and I think he was even like kind of teased in Far From Home. One of the characters is named what Chameleon's actual name is, which is Dimitri.
Yeah,
and he was like the bus driver in that movie. And so, you know, whether they're nods or whether they're going to show up in this movie, Chameleon's probably my favorite Spider-Man villain. So I hope he shows up, but you know,
I've always been a Hobgoblin, Green Goblin.
Yeah, fantastic too. And I don't know, you know, I don't know what direction they're gonna go, but
I love Halloween, so those
throwing pumpkins,
So Underfunded Scientist says Into the Spider-Verse was so good, and my kids both love it. Yeah, it is a great one, that's for sure. At this point, I might be using the wrong term, but basically Spider-Man is just a plot device to move the MCU, the greater story arc forward, which kind of sucks, like you're saying. In summary, sucks.
They need to pull him back to a street, like someone who
his
has
routes,
powers to do what he needs to do, but at a street level idea. You know, he's like the king of the street level power guys. He's the most powerful out of Daredevil, Luke Cage, and all the different New York characters. They just need to pull him back.
Last week on the Loki episode, excuse me, I kind of had talked about how I think that the Disney Plus series, those should be the plot devices that move the larger story of the MCU forward.
Yeah.
And leave the movies, to focus on character stories.
Actual stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Much like they did in the early MCU, throwing like little tiny cameos and Easter eggs that eventually show up down the road. But now, like you guys are saying, like just it does suck for Spider-Man because both of his movies so far are literally just like
Tony Stark
moving
it's
Avengers storyline forward instead of like a real true like Spider-Man story. I mean, there are Spider-Man stories in those movies, but the larger focus is his connection with Tony Stark and him coming onto the Avengers, right?
Yeah, so that to me that kind of irritates, and I know a lot of people like Spider-Man and Iron Man together in the MCU, and that's fine, but in the earlier comics, that's Doc Ock, that character that is played as Doc. So when he becomes the bad guy, it's even more crushing. You know what I mean? And they kind of rip that away. Not that they can't put it in somewhere else down the road, but I'm just after Far From Home. I loved Far From Home because Mysterio's up there. The Mysterio scenes are amazing.
Yeah,
but it's just like the Iron Man stuff. Like, okay, we get it.
I mean, they did a good job. Like, I loved how the Spider-Man movies tie into the MCU, right? And I enjoy the interconnectivity. I don't know. I'm probably not doing a great job describing that, but like how connected they are with the larger MCU. I love that. But then at the same time, it's like I feel bad because I do want like the more Spider-Man focused story. But I think they did a great job still crushing Peter with Tony Stark. Albeit in a different way than with Doc Ock, but I think they did a good job of just crushing his soul.
Tony definitely
dying.
Definitely,
stuff,
I just had I don't know the entire, and this is very unpopular opinion. I know it before I even say it, but I personally like the Netflix Marvel stuff more than anything the MCU has to offer. I like the MCU. I love it. It's fine.
Those shows were so good.
But for the New York crime fighting section of Marvel, oh my gosh, Daredevil is fantastic. Jessica Jones, Kilgrave and Jessica Jones is like one of the best villains ever. He's fantastic. And the way they implemented him was great. So once they canceled those, I was like kind of crushed. You know what I mean? Because it was going in a direction I was hoping would continue.
Punisher was awesome.
Luke Cage, Punisher. Luke Cage was really, really good. There was some every time they introduced like the lounge, and they always had like someone new singing and like performing. It was so good how they did it. How they did Copperhead and a lot of street level villains that exist in New York that met Daredevil, Spider-Man at times, Luke Cage. They did it so well. So Luke Cage, Punisher, Daredevil, all amazing. Kilgrave was decent. I could not stand Jessica Jones though.
I mean, I get
the woman hater. Right? I know.
Exactly.
I'm back. God, there's nothing you could do. It's, even the Defenders, I couldn't watch it because I really didn't like Iron Fist that much either. But
definitely.
How graphic
Daredevil.
It just had that gritty New York crime story, and it was awesome, And I hope
Kingpin. Exactly that scene where he's just going to town with the car door. It's like, oh my god,
sounds like he's making love to a car.
Hey, I mean, he might. I don't know. That guy's a lunatic.
I mean, he's definitely the best Kingpin without a doubt. He's the best Wilson Fisk and I think my hope is that at least Daredevil will make it over to Disney Plus. I think they're idiots if they don't do it.
There are big rumors that are all but confirmed, pretty much confirmed, that like Charlie Cox is coming. Vincent D'Onofrio is coming. John Bernthal is coming.
I hope.
They're just
really
going to pop up in different series. So Rosario Dawson, bro.
I was going to say Rosario Dawson. I was going to say that's one of the best parts of Daredevil 2. I mean, Night Nurse, the character is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Night Nurse was in her own titled comic. Honestly, just kind of like helping heroes at night that were hurt and stuff, and that was such a cool thing to add into that. And I hope they do more with that. But she's obviously pretty busy in Star Wars.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I really do. I couldn't watch Defenders all the way through.
I couldn't either. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I say I like Jessica Jones, I really couldn't watch after Kilgrave was off of Jessica Jones. So it might be that I didn't like Jessica Jones. It's just, I don't know. Kilgrave in that show, man, is just
he's
fantastic.
Such a bastard.
Really
He's just he is.
Yeah, you love to hate him, and
the whole like he's like the abusive ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
That was brilliant to me.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
The villains in all of those shows, super good.
Mm-hmm.
Like so good.
Yeah.
My favorite part probably we'll get this out and then we'll wrap up here. But the one scene in Daredevil, the ridiculously long fight scene through the stairwell, where he's going down the flight of stairs and he's just like fighting so many dudes and he's like hitting out the lights and that sticks out as like one of my favorite scenes from the Netflix Marvel stuff. It was just so beautiful.
In season 1, he did it just in a normal hallway trying to rescue the kid.
Yeah. And the camera the whole time is just down the hallway and he's like flying through walls and
and you can see him physically getting tired in each punch. Like it's done so well because you can see him physically getting tired and then his hits are becoming less powerful through that.
Yeah.
And he's becoming winded and he has to hit him in different ways. Instead of just punching him, he has to jump and like kick him and just drop to the ground like a suicide kick type of thing.
Yeah.
And doing stuff like that shows you where the character's coming. But in season 2, you're talking about when he just got released from Frank and his hands taped to like the gun and the chain.
Exactly.
So he's swinging the chain, knocking the lights out. And
such a good scene. It's so long. I love it.
When they do these, like when the Punisher and Daredevil are first talking, that's my favorite part of the whole show. Just the conversations they have and the morality debate, where Punisher's like, you hit them, they get back up. I hit them, they stay down.
Right.
And he's like, these people, deserve a chance. He's like, a chance to what? He's like, to try, Frank, to try. It's so cool to see that.
Dude, and John Bernthal is like,
fantastic,
the
Punisher.
best Frank Castle.
Yeah,
he's like born to play that role.
Definitely.
It's good.
But yeah, anyways, that was our Netflix Marvel show. Thank you for tuning in to the
typical Showboys fashion.
Yep,
and we're all over the place.
We talked about some things and other things, and it was fun.
Some strange things.
But yes, not stranger things. That not yet. Hopefully soon.
Hopefully.
Or things that are strange we did talk about, which I was trying to tie in that strange too.
There you go.
We're in one of them right now. It's happening right now.
Yes. Anyways, well, that's definitely a sign that we should end this episode. But first, who is the better as Shane? Wait, hold on.
Who is the better, Shane from The Walking Dead or the Punisher?
Okay,
there we go.
Yeah. So let's just all three do it. Yeah, you go first, Mike.
Oh, okay. Man, it's a good question because Shane is quite despicable on The Walking Dead, and he did a great job as that character, which is great. It should be noted that in the comics, Shane dies in like episode or issue 2. So the fact that he was able to live out for what, like 2 seasons?
2 seasons. Yeah, he died at the end of the second season.
Was good, and he made me really hate that guy, which is also good. John Bernthal is great at being the heel, if we're gonna go full circle in podcast chat today.
It's perfect.
He's a great heel for sure. He's very good at making people hate his characters. But I have to say he is much better as the Punisher. I don't know. There's just something about how he played Frank Castle that hit a little harder than how he played Shane, but that's not a knock on Shane. I enjoyed his Shane. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Chad?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's Shane personally, because here, don't get me wrong. I think.
All right, so Jordan, what did you think about?
Just
Sorry. Yeah, that was the wrong answer.
Dang, the wrong answer. Yeah, so I don't know. He's fantastic on the Punisher, 100%. I won't disagree with Mike,
I'm sorry.
but he does. I just like the way
funny.
that he took a character that died in the comics very, very soon and made him into someone that I, although was happy to see go off the show, I kind of was sad that he was off the show too. So I think just the fact that he took a character that didn't have that much behind him and built the rest of it, I thought was fantastic. So
yeah. What about you, Jordan?
The whole reason I let Chad go first was because I did not want to steal his answer.
yeah.
Honestly, I really want to do that. And so be prepared to watch me disappear because I'm also going to say that I liked him better as Shane than the Punisher. And he was a good Punisher, and I'm very happy with it. I'd be happy to see that continue into the MCU, everything. So, Yusuf, I have to say, definitely I like him better as Shane. And if I can plug who my main casting I wanted to see as a Punisher was Frank Grillo, who's in Purge Anarchy, and he's also plays Crossbones in the MCU. He was
in new movie Boss Level, right?
Oh, is he? Okay.
That was him.
Yep.
Okay, I haven't watched that yet, but he was my pick for Punisher. And when I saw him show up in the Purge Anarchy, I was like, please God, let him become the Punisher. And he did not. And I was a little sad. I was a little sad. But he has the he has the right tone for the Punisher, if you ask me. And I think the Purge Anarchy actually shows that.
Yeah, I think I never really even thought about that, but it really is pretty perfect. Like every character he plays is pretty much the Punisher. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like it in everything I can think of. So
they just see multiverse.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, both of them.
Frankencastle. Do you guys know who Frankencastle is?
No.
He's a Punisher mixed with Frankenstein.
Oh, really?
He's like a steampunk. He's like so it's steampunk, like mechanical monster. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think my choice probably is because I've seen the Punisher like much more recent than I've seen Shane in The Walking Dead. Yeah. So that probably plays a big factor.
Either way you go, it's a very fair opinion. It would probably be more in the air if Frank Grillo never existed.
Right.
Yeah.
So Underfunded Scientist says, great stream, guys. Loved it as always. Thank you, sir. Yusuf says, voice to text issues. Shane for the win.
Yeah.
And then we faked out Underfunded Scientists so hard with the outro. I apologize. But you can blame that on Yusuf because he asked a great question right before we were about to pick off. So. And then Yusuf says that death scene, which I'm assuming he's talking about Shane.
It's great. Yeah.
I'm glad.
Or Crossbones.
Last thing for real this time. I'm glad that even though Rick killed Shane, that Carl got to, kill zombie Shane.
I think it was. Yeah, I think that was an important step.
Like, what sends Carl down his journey to manhood, I guess, as you would call it in The Walking Dead, is he just straight up shoots Shane right in his face.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Yep.
Like so brutally, just like, yeah. So I 100% knew that they were not going to do that on the show, but it was cool to see that he still, even though it was zombie Shane, shot him, and because I think that was a big changing point in the character of Carl. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Chad and Jordan, for coming on and discussing the wet noodle of San Diego Comic-Con 2021. If you're watching the live stream, thank you. If you commented, thank you so much. We love the discussion, the banter back and forth with you guys. If you're watching on YouTube and you like what you heard, please consider subscribing. If you're watching elsewhere, like, follow, rate, review, what have you on your listening or viewing platform of choice really helps us out. we'll be back right here next Thursday for a What's Playing. So we had 2 weeks of Jordan, and now we're going to have 2 weeks of Chad. It's going to be great. It's going to be a really fun episode. Actually, you might see a familiar face, or at least a familiar name on the episode next week. Other than that, I think Nick and Mikey will be wrapping up the Bad Batch companion series this Sunday. I think the finale of the Bad Batch is on Friday. So make sure you tune into that 9 o'clock right here on our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch pages. But yeah, I'm going to go. Before this podcast started, I was writing out a huge script for a Pokemon Unite jungle tutorial video. So I'm just going to get right back to it because that game has been just my latest obsession. So, and you know how I am with obsessions. So
we know.
I'm going to get back to it. These guys, I don't know what they're going to do, but probably something fun. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and enjoy our theme song on your way out. See you next week. Bye.
Peace. Oh, everyone's still here.
Sweet. Were you waiting to see if anybody was going to be here?
I was actually. I was a little curious. Mike looks like a rabbit drinking out of a water bottle.
So I have an episode of That Strange on Sunday, and I will try and see if we can have you on for Halloween. We'll maybe just do like a live thing like this.
Yeah.
If you're down.
Yeah, no, I'd be down. Yeah, there's some of the stories that obviously include. I was a really young kid during, so it's like when I was a kid through 5th grade, maybe 6th grade, and there's other stuff that happened to me afterwards. But some of those stories include my brothers and stuff, and I'll talk to them prior and everything, make sure I can share everything. They won't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be fun.